to paint the picture right, you got to think of it this way. We went there was no security on the gates. You could come and go, you could drive a tank in there if you wanted to, and things like that. There was a freewheeling Olympics. And remember, in those days, police never wore guns here in Australia and things like that. You never saw a police officer with a gun. My father had one, but you never saw him wearing it and things like that. So we rock up there, and it's all happy-go-lucky sort of thing. And then one night we hear this noise, and and it was only 2 blocks away, and I don't mean blocks of land, 2 blocks of units away, high-rise units sort of thing, that separated us from where they held up and they broke into the Israeli quarters. And the next morning, our manager came back, Frankie Angove, and told us the sad news of what had happened. And so, we went outside, and his army and police at our doors and things like that with submachine guns. Now, that was a whole new world for us and things like that. So that's painting the picture there. And, we remember, we go down and have breakfast and things like that. But, these terrorists were only probably 400 or 500 meters away, and we could see them in the windows with the machine guns held at the heads of the Israelis. And we're having our breakfast with one eye on our breakfast and one eye on the window. But we weren't in any danger. I'm not dramatising there. So, that was a whole new world for us, a whole new world. And then all the athletes got together in the main Coliseum, the athletics Coliseum, and everyone decided, hey, some went home, and there's nothing wrong with that. That I understand that, and I don't disrespect in any way what those people decide. But big majority of everybody, because we trained so much and so long, and we said, let's stay, and we'll honour those. And I think in the end there was 12 or 13 Israeli athletes that were killed. I'm not quite sure, but I've never ever really gone into it. I still haven't watched the movie Munich. I can't bring myself to watch it, things like that. But I think that the fact that this happened, and the Olympics proceeded, and I caught up with a couple the other night. Deloitte's what's the name, the accounting firm, they're sponsoring the Olympics now, and also the Olympian Club. And we had a function up in there. There was 50 odd Olympians there, and there's 2 or 3 like myself that were at Munich. So, and some of them were swimmers. Shane Gould wasn't there, but I remember jumping around the stadium with Shane Gould and all these people, but all different athletes in the world. And so it was a sad occasion, very sad. But we didn't have a bad Olympics that year. There was 18 teams in the competition, and we finished we finished 9th. We lost the game by 1 point. I think it was to Czechoslovakia. That would have got us into the top 8, and so we beat everybody in the other half of the teams. So we were pretty proud of that, and I got to play a lot. The 2 big guys in front of me, Tom Bender and the other big fella, they broke down and things like that. So I was 4th big man on the team, and ended up being second behind my mate Peter Byrne, who we had a reunion the other last year down in Melbourne, where we all went to the MCG and had lunch there, and 2 of the MCG stood on the hallowed ground of the MCG and things. And this is what the Olympics do for you, And I remember, in Canberra having dinner with the Prime Minister then. I can't think of his name, but I know he didn't help Olympics. I didn't like what he did when he's tried to force Olympics not to go to Moscow, to Moscow. Yeah, tried to stop them. So, but not so be it. But so you just got to remember those times. That's all.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before, but the adversity, and as you said there, the 2 other centers that got injured, they got injured, leaving yourself and Peter, I think it was Peter Vernon.
Yeah.
And
It was Ray Tomlinson was the other one. Ray Tomlinson, big 7-footer. Tom Bender. Tommy was he was an American, naturalized American, and yeah, Tommy's passed away now, unfortunately. But yeah, that was the four big men, and so Pete and I were the two smallest of the lot, and we ended up playing most of the time.
yeah, and so they got they a couple of injuries meant that you really got a red hot crack at plenty of game time in that first Olympics at Munich. And you actually rolled your ankle 3 days out from the trials for that Olympics. You got a cortisone injection, kept playing on, and it managed to be a master stroke. Yet another moment where you've said that you feel as though everything kind of happened for a reason. You had that cortisone injection, you played in pain and discomfort, and you managed to make the Olympic squad 1 month out from heading over to Munich. And then and then a bit of a Stephen Bradbury moment. You got a few of those other players in the Aussie team that went down injured. Obviously, you don't want that as a player, but it really gave you an opportunity to be there on the world stage and give it a red hot crack. And as you said, you finished, I think it was about 8th or 9th out of 16 teams.
Yeah.
But it was also a really special Olympics in the basketball for another reason, and that was the Americans, USA, who were controversially beaten by the Soviet Union before they became Russia, obviously, was formed. But the Americans were kind of cheated out of those games. And I know, did you get a chance to play against Dwight Jones, who was, I think...
Yeah, we played the American team.
College
I
athlete.
had 17 points against them in that game,
Yeah.
So he was that was a great team, that American team.
Yeah.
It was poorly coached. The coach was one of those guys that had the reins and pulling the reins on these guys. The big guys weren't allowed to shoot anywhere unless in the keyway, and they were just animals. They just weren't allowed to run and things like that. But yeah, it was. But I was fortunate enough to play against them, and we sat for the grand final. We sat underneath the basket on the Russian end of the court, and so we saw Doug Collins when he scored that layup and got barreled and made the foul shot and put him a point up, and then there was all hell broke loose on the score bench, which was a complete schmozzle, very unprofessionally done and things like that. And I think if you want some silver medals, they're still lying over in Munich somewhere because the Americans never accepted them. So I wouldn't mind going and finding one myself. But that was sad that it ended like that, and the Americans were robbed. That's for sure. But Big Beloff, the big 7-footer, they threw a full court pass. They should never have been able to pass the ball full court. The Russians, Americans should have had a big 7-footer up on the ball, sort of thing. But anyway, that's happened now, and that was a long time ago. But yeah, it just seems like yesterday now that we've talked about it a bit.
Yeah, that ended like a 63-game winning streak for the US, I think.
Yeah.
So Dwight Jones was actually ejected from the game, but he was one of the highest point scorers. So I think the Soviet Union kind of targeted him because they saw him as a threat on the scoreboard. Now playing against Dwight and all those US athletes is very different to how it is now in the Olympics. A lot of the NBA players can now participate in the Olympics. Back then, it was only college athletes this is my own understanding, that college athletes could participate in the Olympics, but not NBA athletes. Is that correct? And how was it?
It was all amateur. It was all amateur, and except we were the only team, I think, that we were sponsored by Adidas, call them what you like, at that Olympics. But we had to take all the stripes off our shoes, off our casual wear and things like that. We weren't allowed to wear the stripes. Yet the Americans, were sponsored by Nike, and they had everything. We were just so poor and what have you. We used to go to the American training room or their barracks sort of thing. We used to borrow ankle tape off them. You know, they had guys taping their ankles for them, but we had to go and get some off them and to tape our own ankles. But you know, that was the professionalism of it. Yeah, we were so amateurish. It was unbelievable in what we could wear and what we couldn't wear. And the Australian Olympic Council was very, very strong on it and said, no, you can't do it. It didn't matter that all the other countries were doing it, but Australia, we had to be amateur. So yeah, there you go. We had to take all the stripes off our gear.